I would like to call this meeting to order. February the 9th, 2021 of the Oconee County Conservation Bank Board. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. My name is Katie Smith and I'm the clerk of the county council and will be presiding over this meeting until the election of chairman. The first item on the agenda is the election of officers. For the election of officers, these shall be selected from among the Oconee County Conservation Bank Board. A nomination of chairman, vice chairman, secretary, and treasurer. We will start with the election of chairman. Once the chairman has been elected, he or she will take over the meeting at that point in time. So there are two options on how to complete the election. The first is a show of hands and then a verbal confirmation. The second is a ballot style system where you would write down who you nominate for chairman and then sign your name at the bottom. These will go in backup materials as well. Which method would everyone like to go with?
I make a motion that we,
We don't need, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just a show of hands?
Show of
Okay.
hands.
Okay, perfect.
absolutely.
All right, so first someone will need to be nominated for chairman. If a second person is nominated, then we will vote on the members in order that they were nominated. If the first person nominated gets the majority of the votes, then this member will become the chairman and they will take over the meeting. If the person does not get the majority of votes, then we will go to the second person. So, are there any nominations for chairman?
I nominate Andy Smith.
I second.
Oh, I was supposed to do this, wasn't I?
No, we haven't voted yet.
But we're supposed to raise our hands when we talk, so you know.
Just when you make a motion, and we don't need a second, we just need a nomination. Okay. Are there any other nominations for chairman? Okay. All those in favor of Mr. Smith being the chairman of the Oconee County Conservation Bank Board, raise your hand, say aye.
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 Perfect. All right.
I'm Andy Smith, newly elected chair of the Oconee County Conservation Bank Board.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the nomination and the election of the vice chair. Do we have any nominations?
I nominate Emily Hitchcock.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair? All in favor of Emily serving as vice chair, aye, and raise your hands. Aye.
Aye.
Next is secretary. Do we have a nomination for secretary? I'll nominate Ryan Keys. Any other nominations for secretary? All in favor of Ryan Keys being secretary, aye, and raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Treasurer. Do we have a nomination for treasurer?
I nominate Laura.
Any other nominations for treasurer? All in favor of Laura Havern serving as treasurer, aye, and raise your hands.
Aye.
Very good, thank you. So we have our officers, and those are the same officers from last year. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes from December 5th.
I would like to
Yes,
make a
ma'am.
motion to amend the agenda to add a public comment period at the, towards the end before adjournment.
I second that. Any discussion? All in favor of amending the agenda to add a public comment period? Aye,
Aye.
raise your hands, aye. And when will that be? How about right now? Eddie Martin, you're here. We'd like for you to give us as part of the public comment, an update on the Peggy Moore project, if you would.
My name's Eddie Martin. I'm with the Oconee Soil and Water Conservation District. We have placed an application with the Oconee County Conservation Bank Board for $10,000 for putting in an easement on Peggy Moore's property. In that, we have partnered with Upstate Forever, the South Carolina Conservation Bank, and NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Service. With the Natural Resource Conservation Service application, we have to present them with due diligence. We've got to get their phase one to them. We've got to get the new survey to them, and we've got to get a new appraisal to them. And hopefully by the end of this week, all that will be into them to be sent to national headquarters for review. Once that's done, we will be in a position to set a closing date and finalize this project.
Okay.
Do you have an anticipated time frame for a closing date?
We are hoping to be done with this by the end of June.
Okay.
Okay.
So that will all hinge on how long it takes Washington to do this review.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Eddie. Anything else you want to tell us?
That's all I've got right now on that particular item. We're just, going through the final motions of this thing, getting it together and putting it in place.
Right.
Everything looks good.
Right. So just let us know on that closing date, and we'll get the squared up on the documents.
We'll do it.
Cut the check.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes from December 15th, 2020. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second?
Any discussion?
I had a discussion. I had forgotten. Thank you. Under the portion of the minutes that says, discussion and/or action regarding Natural Land Trust, it is accurate in what it says about Natural Land Trust not being able to, that the application that they had submitted was not within our jurisdiction because they were wanting to be reimbursed for a previously purchased property. My recollection was that Mr. Smith had stated that he had talked to Max Stone and that Natural Land Trust was aware that we could not accept the application because it was not within our jurisdiction. And I felt like we should have that in the minutes to explain why the application was, I mean, it explains why it wasn't accepted, but it doesn't actually say we didn't accept it and we told people we're not going to accept it. Now, that's my memory, is that Mr. Smith said he had talked to Mac. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so,
So a way, if I may, to amend that could be that last sentence. He further noted that the funds are granted to acquire interest in land and that we would not accept the application from the Nature Land Trust.
okay.
Would that work? For that.
What about this?
Okay, go ahead.
The funds are granted to acquire an interest in land, comma, that we cannot accept the application, and that Natural Land Trust has been informed.
Okay,
Because I think that's important.
okay. So let's articulate that so that,
So that's fine, Chairman, that's fine.
Okay.
But I would like to have a motion and a second to add that into the minutes, because this is what I provided. So a motion and a second, and
Okay.
then what you want to add it into the minutes. And then, once that is done, then we can have another motion and a second to approve the minutes as amended.
okay, very good.
Okay.
So I move that we amend the minutes as Emily directs. Do we have a second?
I need to know what you want, I need to
Well,
know
I'll let
what
you
you
make the
want
motion
added
then.
into the minutes.
Okay, so I'll make the motion. I move that the minutes be amended on page 3 at the end of the item noted discussion and/or action regarding Natural Land Trust by adding the following to the end of that paragraph, comma, that the board cannot accept the application, and that Natural Land Trust has been informed of this.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion, aye, and raise your hands.
Aye.
Any other comments on the So we need a new motion for the minutes as amended?
Yes,
Okay.
please, because you guys amended what
Okay.
was actually sent to you, so now it needs to be a motion to the minutes as amended.
I move that we accept the minutes as amended.
Second?
Second, okay?
Okay. Any further discussion on the minutes as presented? All in favor?
Aye.
Next on the calendar is the approval of next year, of this year's Coney County Conservation Bank Board meeting date. You should have that handout on your desk.
And all these are, okay, and all these are on Tuesday?
They are. So, could we get a motion to do this, and then we'll discuss it?
Okay. I make a motion to approve the meeting dates for 2021.
Second? I'll second it. Okay, discussion. We've added a date in here, which will be a March date. These are all, otherwise, well, all of the dates are Tuesday dates at 9 o'clock. And Charles, for your benefit, we have 3 application deadlines, April 1st, August 1st, and November 1st. And then we have a requirement in our ordinance to review applications and get our recommendation to council within a time period. So the way we set that up is so as soon as possible after a deadline, like April 6th, we'll have the applications in hand, we can discuss them. And then we'll have a follow-up meeting in May, the May 18th meeting, where we make our decision on the applications, so we then give it to council. So the April 6th, May 18th works on that April 1st deadline. Same thing for the August 10th, September 21st, and the same thing for the November 9th, December 14th. They're all set up to work with our application cycle. That's our normal slate of meetings, including a February meeting. We added the March 2nd meeting this year because the Procedures Committee has been working over the last several months in revising our application, our worksheet that we use to evaluate criteria, and then an evaluation score sheet that we score from our worksheet on a policy related to grant procedures and a grant agreement. And we have those all in final form now. They're part of our backup materials. We want to get those approved on March 2nd so that potential applicants like the Coney Soil and Water Conservation District will have them if they want to do an April 1st application. Yes, because it's a new application form. So that's why we added that one in there. Any more discussion on the calendar? Okay, all in favor, aye, and raise your hands, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nobody's opposed. Next on the agenda is the treasurer's report. Laura?
Okay. The treasurer's report for the Community First Bank account ending 183 with the period ending December 31st, 2020. The opening balance was $4,255. We had $66,100 in total deposits. Our expenditures were $15 for the incoming wire fee. The second expenditure was $66,100 for the Whetstone Creek Preserve estate of William Lyle. The outgoing wire fee was $20 for total expenditures of $66,135 and no cents. Balance in the account is now $4,220.
Can I throw out a discussion at this point? Would that be appropriate?
Let's do it when we do the motion.
Okay.
And we'll do the motion after the second one.
Oh, after the second one, okay. Okay, the treasurer's report for the local government investment pool period ending December 31st, 2020. Deposits and opening balance were, the opening balance is $410,292.56. Our expenditures were $66,100. $1,000.00 for the Whetstone Creek Preserve Estate of William Lyle. Investment interest was $54.44, with an ending balance in our account of $344,247.00.
Thank you, Laura. Do we have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
So moved.
I second. Discussion.
Okay, my discussion isn't because I have any problem with the report, but I felt like this is the appropriate time to bring it up. I noticed that in this one transaction, we spent $35 in wire fees. And they were all charged by Community First. And as much as I think we want to support our local banks, the only thing they are doing is getting money from the state investment pool and sending it to the closing attorney. And our funds are almost halfway depleted after less than 2 years of spending what we've got with no income stream. I know it's not a large amount, but every penny counts, which is the reason we invested it. I would like to know whether or not the local government investment pool could send that wire, this was not the best mass for today, could send that wire directly to the closing attorney and avoid those 2 fees. I understand if we do that, that means we could still maintain money, that minimal balance at the Community First account, a bank, if we want to, but at some point we would need to figure out why that is necessary. But at this point, I'm not suggesting that we close that account until we've had an opportunity to evaluate whether or not we want to hold some money in it for whatever purpose. But I would like us to explore sending the money, not having those 2 fees.
I don't remember what our rationale was for opening the local account to make that transfer, why we couldn't have done it.
Well, we had
Have that discussion?
that local account before we had the state investment pool.
Got it.
And so we kept it mainly for doing these transactions, so that we'd have a checking account that we could then handily and more quickly and efficiently distribute money to closing attorneys. I mean, I think 2 things we could do. We could query on the state investment pool, and we could query Community First to see if they would potentially waive those wire transfer fees. Though, being an attorney that does a fair amount of closings, wire transfer fees are normal.
Right.
Yes.
Right, they are.
And what I had actually assumed that the local government investment pool was also charging us, and had not really paid that close attention. I'd listened to them, but I started studying them, and I went, oh, they do not charge us at all. Because my original thought was we're being double charged. But we are being double charged because Community First charges us on both ends.
Coming and going.
We send them money and pay them to accept the money so that we can pay them so they can send it to someone else the next day. Or that afternoon, or whenever it is.
Well, I'd be happy to take that on and talking to, on both of those fronts.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
I would appreciate it, Andy.
Yes, ma'am. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of the treasurer's report? Aye, and raise your hands.
Aye.
Very good. Next is our standing item of fundraising and public relations reports. I think we've got 2 areas to report on. One, Laura's presentation that she made recently, and then Emily on website issues.
Okay.
Laura, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, last month, at the end of the month, I finished up the PowerPoint that I had created as a kind of a marketing and education tool on the OCCB, and presented it to a group in Kiawakee. There was 15 attendees. John Elliott, president or chair of the county council, attended, and took me about half an hour to do the presentation there, and then there was about 10-15 minutes of questions, discussions, but it went really well. And I had told the group they were my guinea pigs. This was the first opportunity I had to present it. And So they gave me, good feedback. I asked, is there anything boring you don't care about? Do I take out some of the statistics? And they're like, no, we love that stuff. They just wanted more information on the properties that we are helping conserve in some way. And so I've contacted Eddie and Chris and Mac, and they have sent me lots of good photographs and feedback, and I'm in the process of incorporating all that in, and we'll have a presentation finalized. I'm trying to write a script into it so that, somebody else could actually look at it, see the script in the background on a slide and present it. But I think that'll help us so that going forward, maybe we can, present it to Rotary and Newcomers Club, and we've been talking about presenting it to Tim Alexander's office people. So anyway, it went well.
Okay.
So that-
Anybody give you any money?
I don't know. Did we get any money? I know that one gal asked me to mail her. She didn't make it, but she asked me to mail her the brochure, and she said she would be making a donation, but then her cat had lots of surgery problems, and so I don't know. We'll see. You
That's correct.
never know when somebody might make a donation, so,
That's wonderful.
yeah.
Emily?
Oh, on the web. And I really think long-term, this needs to be a standing agenda item that's separate, because related to the website today, I have a question for Katie about whether or not we can get a donate now type button where people can go on and donate, and it would go into our bank account. And it might be that that is the point at which we would need to be able to send it to Community First versus the investment pool. So this is information I think we're going to need as we look at several different decisions. And I think it's the website is going to need to be updated as we get the endowment kickoff, whatever fundraising. I think we need a kickoff for that. And then, but circling back, since I'm talking about the website in terms of fundraising and public relations, I did not get a chance last night to look at the website again. Have we gotten our policies on the website yet? You have? Great. I will look at that then, and because we will be having more coming. That's excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'd like to make a comment, and I don't know, Katie, if this is something you could approach IT with, but I think it's very difficult to find our website on there. I know every time I go in to find it to send to somebody, like most recently I was like, I end up contacting Katie to say, how do I find this? Because you keep drilling down, and you got to know what to click on to drill down into. And I thought, there's no way to even search on OCCB or Oconee County Conservation Board. So, I think it's very difficult to use. Is there a way, to approach IT about this?
So, I will say this is a fairly new system. This is a very user-friendly system. And the way I feel about it. The boards, because these are council-appointed boards, it's going to be under council. Everything that you need to find is going to be under council. All you have to do is just hover over the word council, and you have a box that pops up, and under committee and commissions, this is where you're gonna find all the boards that, like you guys, you're gonna find it there. There's only so much that you can put on the web, on our website. I just want to kind of, you guys keep that in mind. If you want to do a third party and something like that, that would be, but there's just so much, there's only so much that we can put on the web. Because, and like I've told you before, if you keep putting stuff on here, it's going to be too much. And people are not going to be able to understand, like you guys can understand it because you guys create them. I understand it because I helped put it on here. But if you put too much on here, a lot of people are not, it's just going to be too much for some people to read.
I guess my concern was just the ability to find it. Because
It's under
we're a
council.
board, but that assumes that somebody understands it's a committee or a council.
There,
know.
one thing in that vein, when you go to council, you put your mouse on council, then it's agenda, minutes, calendar, code of ordinances, committees and commissions, council officials, information. If it said committees, commissions, and boards, that's the only improvement I could see. I mean, it's, in my opinion,
But if you click that, it does. If you-
Well, I
if
understand,
you
but-
click the committees and commissions, it does.
I understand
But
that.
I'm not looking for the Oconee County Conservation Committee. Or a council. I'm looking for the board. I'm just saying to call us what we are. Because all those others on there are boards.
So
I'm
we-
just thinking,
So you would like to see if, and I don't know if this is a possibility,
Mm-hmm.
so I just wanna just go ahead and just tell you got that up front. So you would like under council, and when you like hover over that word, and then the committees and commissions, you would like for it to say boards, committees, and commissions? You think that would be better?
yes, yes,
So do you want me to ask them if that's a
Yes.
possibility?
yes.
I can do it.
The other thing is there a search option?
Right, yes, ma'am, it's right there. It's.
Why,
it's-
okay, because when because
I can't really tell.
I always search, but it never
I'm looking
came
at it.
up. When I was
I'm
just,
gonna pull, okay, so what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna pull what I have up right now, I'm gonna pull over to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you see does everybody see that? Okay. So you've got home right here,
Mm-hmm.
how do I, council, online forums, and departments,
Mm-hmm.
okay? If you look down here, you've got popular services, which is what everybody, like, this is the main things, if people were to come to
right,
come here, this is what they're gonna find. You've got the calendar, and if you hit that and then hit it again, then all those on the left-hand side are gonna be checked, and that's gonna be all the meeting dates that's gonna be in council chambers, okay? Then you got your live streams down here. So
Right.
everything that you need is on this front page. So if you wanna go to the Oconee County Conservation Banking Board, hover over council, go to committees and commissions, and then on the left-hand side, that's all of our boards and commissions. On the right-hand side, that is the council committees,
right.
okay? You can click here, there, and that will bring down all those, so you can click them that way. You can, standing committees, you can click them that way. If you want to look at past committees, those are the ones that were aboard here. So there's the questionnaire right there. Click on it. There's your questionnaire. Send it to me. Now let's click on our page. Okay. So you guys wanted to add that little paragraph up there, which I think was great. So that's on there. Your statement of interest form is there, your application, and then my email.
And that is gonna, as soon as at the next meeting, we will have to revise that because our procedures are changing.
And that's not a problem, because all I have to do is just send the form in like PDF form, which is not a problem, and I can send that to IT. I can't upload this stuff, but I can give that to them. And you're talking about the statement of interest form and application?
Yeah, well, I think, based on what you're saying, that maybe the committee, if it has a chance to meet before March, should actually bring a proposed revision to those two paragraphs. Because I understand the space is limited,
You
but,
want to change these paragraphs that's on here? Because this is what you guys approved last year to put.
no, this is what was approved before I was on the board. And we're doing away with the statement of interest form, for example.
Okay, that's
This,
fine, that's fine.
yeah, this was, or I don't know when this particular website was created, but I know I was not on the board when this language was drafted. It might have been just taken from whatever the previous, because is this a new function?
Y'all approved this last year, to put this on the board last year, I believe it was the second paragraph.
Yeah, that's before we did our revisions and applications. So is that okay if we bring you two new paragraphs?
Yeah, I mean, I just have to
Okay.
have a motion and a second and a vote, and it's gotta pass.
At the time?
Yes.
Okay, righty up.
Yeah,
So then
we
you
changed the
got
deadlines because that we had to, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
Okay, that's
We're
a good
gonna-
idea.
It's gonna have to be changed somewhat with the new procedures.
We'll do it as the
Yeah, not a
procedures.
problem at all, not a problem. And then if you look right there on the right-hand side, you got your board policy, so you got the applicant privacy and the bank account. That's what you guys wanted on there, correct?
Yes,
Right?
ma'am.
yeah, that looks great, thank
Okay,
you.
And you've got the agendas, backup materials, and then after today, because the minutes were amended, and I will actually go in and amend those minutes, it will be in red what was amended. And then, I will upload those and let's drop down to 2020. So it'll go right there.
Yeah,
And then that will fill up. So, I mean, so I guess my point is,
So go back to home and do a search.
And, you know, I did that, Laura, while we were
Yeah.
talking, and I just put in conservation, and it took us to the
Did it take
conservation
you to
bank.
that page?
It took us to two places, and when I clicked on the first one, you know, it was conservation bank, it took me to our page.
Because I know when I searched on it, I thought, why is this not pulling it up?
It worked for me just, you know, 5 minutes ago.
All right.
did you
It's
put in
searching right
OCCB versus Conservation
I
Bank?
tried both,
Oh,
so that just kind of, I was just
did
like.
it on conservation.
Yeah, and I just, I feel like, like if we go to Tim Alexander's office to see if we can get, this huge grant, they need to be able to find our page easily, otherwise we need to instruct them on what to look for, so. Anyway, okay.
And I'll follow up on what Laura said, Laura, Brian, and I are on the fundraising committee. We're gonna talk to Senator Alexander about potential funding. I have talked to staff, and it sounds, they're interested, but nothing to report other than that. We will try to
Well,
meet.
tell them the basis why you approached them.
Well, there was an article in the, I don't want to jinx things, but there was an article in the paper maybe 2 months ago about that there was surplus state funds available because, I think it was because the pandemic didn't affect the state as negatively as was thought. And I think it was in the $800 million range of funds that had to be spent this year or they would go away. And it had several things listed, and the last one was tourism. And I thought, well, we fit that because a lot of what we do is preserving natural resources and scenic views, public access. We create better opportunities for that, all of which supports tourism. And so I thought, well, let's target them. And I actually, we had it on our list and our discussions to do, but I had a conversation with Paul Kane, one of the council members, about another issue, and he mentioned, he asked me, had Lisa from Senator Alexander's office called me? And I said, no. He said, she hadn't called you? No, she hadn't called you? No. And so I got her number, I called her and had a conversation about the potential or the interest, and she had talked with Paul, and so we clarified what we were talking about. And she was very open, very interested, and she asked if we could send her some written materials, which we will do. We'll send the brochure, we'll send the Duke report. We may send the PowerPoint, maybe at a later date, or whenever it's ready to go, and potentially set up a meeting. My feeling is to ask for significant funds, that this may be a potential for us, in my mind, creating the endowment, funding the endowment. And that's the kind of ask that I want to make, is in the quantity that we think is appropriate to create an endowment for us. And so that's where we are on that. Haven't done that. Charles, do you know Senator Alexander by chance?
I do not.
Okay. Ryan does, not well, but he knows him. But the conversation I had with Lisa in his office was a very good conversation. And I think it was Paul Kane's introduction and entree was sufficient for us and me to continue talking to him about that.
okay, I know and I think that's very creative. I'm so glad, because I saw that article, but I'm so glad that y'all hopped on that. Well, let me put it this way. Long-term, I know I believe my recollection is, since it seems to be faulty this morning, sorry, Katie, is that we had a presentation that said that to do an endowment that we're going to need in the nature of $1.5 million to $2 million. Is my
Correct.
recollection correct? So what we're hoping is that we can jumpstart it.
What I'm hoping is that we can create it. That's what I'm gonna ask for.
Oh,
He
okay.
didn't go small in his ask.
I mean, I already told Lisa, I was gonna ask for $5 million,
Okay,
and work from there.
okay. Which, based on what we've been spending, I think that original estimate was low, which was kind of one of the things I was gonna say. Okay. I kind of put you on the spot with how much did you ask for, didn't I? Sorry.
Yeah, and that's just a
Thanks.
preliminary ask, it's not an
Yeah.
ask of the senator yet, but I wanted to plant that seed. And I would see that as the ideal, the goal would be that would be an untouchable figure, an
Yeah.
untouchable endowment.
Yeah. And we could still add to that endowment, but we would be restricted to, our annual budget would be restricted to the,
Revenue produced by
Revenue.
that, and whatever other funds we raise potentially.
yeah, I think that's an excellent idea. Okay.
So we'll hope for the best in that. Any other reports from fundraising and public relations? I know Ryan and I, we were tasked with doing an article in the Journal. We haven't done that, so we will retask on that as well. And that could potentially help with Senator Alexander as well. Further discussion items, final drafts of OCCB forms from Procedures Committee. So part of your backup materials today is a revised application, revised worksheet, revised evaluation score sheet, revised, or a grant procedures policy 0003, and a draft grant agreement. Like I said earlier, our goal is what I would like to happen is that whoever reviews these, and Charles, you and Ryan are the only people that haven't really seen these. If you, and we'll be looking at them again as well. If you have any comments on anything, send them to any one of us. And don't send them to all of us, because anytime we have 4 members, that's a meeting. So as long as there's 3 or less, we can meet as a committee or whatever. So why don't you just send to me any edits or revisions or questions you have, and we'll address those as we head towards March 2nd to bring final versions that we will then maybe make tweaks to on March 2nd, but maybe not, but approve, so we can have them in place. And so that's gonna also require, because it's important for the applicants, that we can get that new application up as soon after we approve it on March 2nd as possible. That and the procedure would be, very important to get up pronto after that.
Just, whenever you guys get them, I just have to have a motion in a second and a vote in order to send the completed forms. I would just like to have that to send to, IT, if that's what you wanna do, to put them on. put
Okay,
them on the
after
web.
March, or at March 2nd.
Whenever they're approved.
Okay, very
Yes,
good.
sir.
Okay. Any other comments on that?
No, I did have, I mentioned to you that I had some questions and inquiries about the grant agreement, and I'm assuming that David, the county attorney, will look at it. So I can get with you privately. The only thing, I did go back through them again, and I'll just let people know so that as they're looking at it on the grant agreement, there are a couple of places that I think need some tweaking. just really to get the language consistent with the grant agreement and things like the Part 2 post-award procedures, the numbers don't start over. So some of it's just very logistical. There are a couple of questions I'm sorry, I paused there. I am thinking that we should add a specific statement that says, and it would be in the Part 1, another paragraph that would say something to the effect that the board will not accept any application for a grant that is not within its jurisdiction, or something, so that we establish that is the procedure. If our preliminary review is we don't have the jurisdiction to even grant this money, we can just refuse to accept it. And again, that's a new base that needs to be added. And then there was one place where I want to talk to Andy, but that's the only substantive thing I saw other than since it was distributed. So I just wanted to point that out because it will be new next month when we meet.
So Emily and I are going to meet to work on the grant agreement a little bit more. I don't know if we need a procedures committee meeting again, but we can call one if we want to.
That goes over my head.
And in relationship to this, I just want to say we did not distribute the proposed revisions to policy number 002, which is the bank account. Andy has requested some changes to that. I think I still need the checklist from you. But we will be bringing that in final form for a revised. It's a very simple adding a checklist to make sure that everything is done before we spend any money.
You want to do that for the March 2nd meeting?
I think so.
We may as
I
well.
think let's just go ahead and get that done while we're looking at all the procedures that relate in any way to the application process
Okay.
and disbursement of funds.
All right, very good.
So those were my only two comments, is that you can expect more there.
Okay. Next on the agenda is an expenditure for recorded grant agreement, Elaine Morris project. That's mine. And the scenario here is that in the revision to the Oconee County Conservation Bank ordinance that was approved in October of last year, we required a grant agreement for the first time, and that it be recordable. For the Elaine Morris project, I think that was the first closing after the adoption of those revisions to the ordinance. It didn't come on to me until after the fact that we needed to make this recordable, the grant agreement that they actually signed. So I asked them to do that, and this was essentially after closing. So they didn't budget the $25 for recording that grant agreement. That's on me. That we did that, so I'm asking for, I'm moving that the board approve an expenditure of $25 to record that grant agreement.
I second.
Any discussion? Okay, all right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Okay.